Victor, Rodger, very good to talk to you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm here in Christchurch. It's pretty
Yeah,
cold and wet outside, but yeah, I've been having a good time here.
fantastic. I was just kind of thinking, I don't think I've interviewed you in the last 10 years,
I don't think
which
so.
seems neglectful of me.
I mean, I've been producing theatre, but not so much writing it,
Yeah,
and certainly not in Auckland so much. But that's about to
yeah.
change with Black Faggot.
Yeah, no, indeed. So before we get into too much, I wanted to take you back in time because it's been quite a while since I've seen it, and I remember loving it when I did. But what was the catalyst for writing it? Why did you feel that you had to write this play and these series of monologues?
In terms of the form with the monologues, because I've been doing a bit of media, I've remembered that Paul Fraser's Beer was really influential on me, because that's two actors playing multiple roles, black
Hmm.
box theatre. And like I recently just remembered I said to Tor at the time, why don't you do some show with like gay characters? And I seem to recall him saying, well, why don't you? And
Yeah,
it just took me a little while to get there. But the thing that physically made me write was the Destiny Church Enough is Enough march against the Civil Union Bill in 2004, I think it was. And
yeah,
fathers and sons, seeing the sons, knowing at least one of them would be gay and feeling crap about themselves. So that was the thing
yeah,
that spurred me to put or open my laptop and start.
yeah. So it's 20 years ago, and yet we're seeing the same stupidity, particularly in America, but still here as well with Destiny, attacking the parade, the Auckland parade recently. Some things never change, do they? And yet they do. What's your thoughts on where we're currently at?
Well, I mean, I think for a lot of issues like race, LGBTQ, IA plus, or as we are calling it now, MVP FAF plus. Um, I always trust out that old French saying, plus ça change, plus ça la même chose. The more
Mm,
things change, the more they stay the same. And I've been saying in a lot of media that, when Black Faggot turned 10, I thought, well, maybe I'll put it on again, but then I wasn't sure if it was still relevant. But
mm,
sadly, that has absolutely been disproven, and perhaps it's
yeah.
more relevant and necessary than ever.
And is that the reason you decided to bring it back because of recent events?
Not my decision. So this was the court
Yeah,
theatre came to me last year, and they said
yeah,
we're going to program Black Faggot for our new theatre, and I was like, okay, cool, but yeah, I wasn't sure if it was still going to hit, but of course,
mm,
I was overseas at the start of the year, and that's when I saw all the headlines about what had happened at the Te Atatu
mm,
Library and at the Pride Parade, and I was like, yeah, I'm so glad it's going on. I finally went to it last night myself. Um, it was an amazing experience because I was with
mhm,
a group called Moana Va, who are MVP F plus organization down here in Aotearoa. And
mhm.
so it was mostly queer brown people and families and friends loving it and being moved by it too. And
Yeah.
I just love that it still hits.
Well, I think that's the thing about theatre, though, isn't it? That good stories are always relevant, even if they reference the past. And I suppose in queer culture, it's important that we do remember our history and remember our old stories or previous stories as well. So that's really valid.
Yeah, look, it's become a historical piece. It's firmly set in 2013 when it first debuted, which was just on the eve of the marriage marriage equality bill being passed. Um, but yeah, I was going to say something amazing, but it's totally gone out of my head. Actually.
That's all right. It is the evening, and we've both been working today. So yeah. Um, I can recall that the vignettes, the monologues throughout it. Some were funny, some were poignant, some were tragic. Um, it took pot shots at wider mainstream New Zealand society, but it also looked inwardly at Samoan culture and how Samoan culture treats queer issues. What's changed there, do you think, in society generally and also within New Zealand Samoan culture around queer issues, if anything? What's the update on that, I suppose?
Yeah, well, I guess it's, I interviewed two younger Pasifika queer artists a few years ago, and one of them had a textbook, beautiful, coming out with his family. They'd all wrapped around him. Nothing had changed. And I was like, yeah, cool, progress. But then the other one had a terrible time, which had violence attached to it. And it comes back to Pusalamim shows. I think for some people, it's still quite challenging to just be that simple / difficult thing of just being and having the courage to be and being allowed to be who you are as well.
Do you think the church has changed at all with regards to queer issues?
I think there's always a spectrum. I think you'll find churches that have, and I think you'll find maybe not churches, but individuals that haven't, So
For sure.
Within my own family, I know someone that gave a talk at a church and then got a fair bit of pushback from a group of God-fearing #Christians.
Right. What about generationally in Samoan culture? Do you think there's a generational shift?
Look, it's hard. It's always hard to say, right? Because we're not a monolith. We run the whole spectrum of into it. Want to be sick, don't care. I mean, one thing I keep talking about is Black Faggot back in the day, seeing an older Samoan aunt watch it, Catholic, conservative, and being horrified,
Right.
and then being beautifully surprised at seeing her throw her head back and laugh at the filth that was being presented to her on stage, and then made me realize, oh yeah, she's been around the block back in the day. Which I think,
absolutely.
I forbade my mother from going. And once again, I underestimated an older person, and she coped and she enjoyed it, where I was trying to protect her from all the sex and the swearing, but she
was young once. She was young once.
Well, she was, but she's very close to Mother Teresa, Andrew, in real life, but she coped, which I loved.
This is a slight sideline, but I remember seeing a Julian Clary show at the Town Hall many, many years ago. And honestly, the average audience would have been 65, 70, and mostly women. So, and they loved that raucous, actually his humor is way more than raucous. And, so I suppose we can get into stereotypic thinking, can't we, ourselves, about generations, about communities, about whatever. And the reality is our communities are made up of diversity.
Yeah, and look,
so you can never tell.
Just winding back to that question about what's changed. I worked on a play called Inky Pinky Ponky a few years ago, which is essentially a trans rom-com about a trans Pakaleti Tongan student who the first 15 captain takes a bet to see if he can make her fall in love with him. And when we performed it in front of, this is a couple of years after Black Faggot, when we performed it in front of some high school kids, they were just also invested in that trans character getting a happy ending. And for me, that was like, oh, that would never, in terms of things changed, that would never, ever have happened in my time. And I think that younger generation, be they Samoan or whatever, are generally, in my experience, a lot more open to people just like, you do you, boo. I'm not going to throw stones at you, which was great.
Yeah. So I just very briefly, the last thing really is just to talk about the word faggot, because you're queer, I'm queer, so we can use that word without any problem. I've been out 40 years. I'm assuming you've been out for quite some time as well. It doesn't have the same impact on me. I don't see it as pejorative. I know there are still people who use it in a nasty way. What are your thoughts about the actual word now?
Yeah, well, that's one thing about the play from 2013 to now. what is permissible and what gets people's hackles up has changed quite quickly and quite markedly. We did remove an epithet from the play, a racial epithet, but nothing, the play is called Black Faggot. I think sometimes younger generation personages are like, interesting choice. But, it's always been that. It always will be that. Yeah, look, I just always remember when Harvey Firestein came a cropper when he used the F word against Johnny Weir, the famous ice skater. And, the young queer ones came for him. And I'm like, he can say whatever the hell he wants. That's sort of where I lie with it. And not everyone will agree with me, but I do understand language can be hurtful, but yeah, we claim that shit.
Well, exactly. It's the reclamation, isn't it? We can say it, but if you're not queer, do it at your peril, kind of thing. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, really great to know that it's come back and it's had a fantastic run in Christchurch, and it's about to open here in Auckland.
Yeah.
So congratulations, and thank you for spending part of your evening with me tonight.
Well, for Taitele Lava, I'm going to go eat now, and I'm sure you are too.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
Thank you,
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.